Oh, audio now, perhaps? Are you sure? Uh, just talking to test the audio because it stopped working there for a second. Yeah, there's meant to be a delay. Okay. Yeah, so, okay. So thankfully, Kira figured out that we were having audio issues. I say we were having audio issues. I was having audio issues. Um, So anyone who I'll start all the things I said again, not that there was you missed a whole pile. Essentially, anyone watching this is a live video. I'm going to do some walkthroughs of a couple of different shoots, how I treat them, and the work that I do. So this is Erica. This is a dance shoot from I think 2022. This is a headshot of Madison from last year, I believe. This is a wedding, some wedding portraits from last year, the year before, possibly. I'll go through and show everyone um, kind of what I use to color these, the work, the edit. Oh my goodness, the edits that I would do to these, and if there's any questions as we go, just hop in and say in the live. If you're watching this after the live, feel free to drop a comment on the video, and I'll cover anything that I haven't done during that. So I'll start off with these pictures of Erica. That looks like one that's already been edited, unless I've looked that fantastically. So we can probably find the one first. Let's start with something simpler. Let's start with this portrait. Also worth saying for a lot of when I'm kind of crunching through edits and crunching through, especially weddings, I'll use this little boy. This is I think it's called a Loop Deck CT. Where are we? Yeah, there. So I have kind of my presets and stuff dialed in. As I go into, develop and work on a file, I can adjust temperature and all this type of stuff. And it's really handy, especially if I'm trying to get through 400 files with portraits and stuff like this, not so much. So I'm going to hit command, get back to where I was. But anyway, this is a lot of what I'll use when I'm skin retouching. I'll be using a graphics tablet. I also said I would turn on. Where did this wee mouse bio go? What was it called? What was it called? MOU. My zzz. Where are you? Is there two? Here it is, and we'll turn on that and turn on. No, not that. We will turn off spotlight and turn on ring, and that's that. And it will show me click feedback. So it'll show you what I'm clicking on and what I'm not clicking on. Hopefully that works. So let's firstly. I wish I could find the original map. Anyway, let's go. Let's go with this one. So into develop, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit R and just check that this looks moderately kind of straight and upright. I'm essentially when I'm shooting a dancer, I'm mostly lying on the ground essentially to shoot them because I want them legs to look long. I want everything to look tall. And if I stand up and shoot Erica at 6'2", she's going to look dinky. Whereas if I shoot quite low like this, and I'm shooting probably from here, probably from her thigh level, just gives her the longer legs, gives her longer arms, makes everything just longer and taller. Looks a lot better. I recommend that for lots of dance stuff. I'm editing this for a client for Instagram just for the giggles. If I was editing this for competition, I would edit it differently. I'll be using a lot of generative fill and a lot of crap just to get this image looking the way I want to use it. I'll use a couple of plugins if I can remember what they're called. But we'll take it from there. So enter. We've kind of got that straightened. Probably whenever I shot this first of Erica, we didn't have all the AI magicness that Photoshop gives us now and Lightroom gives us now. But the things I would do in Lightroom first is just adjust my color a little. You can see, does that come up on the screen? It does, temperature up and down. I'd be looking at highlights. Let's do it here just to try and get to make sure that I'm not overexposed here around her face. This is the kind of brightest part. Around the hand, I might be losing a little bit. I might bring highlights down a touch. Again, isn't if this was for competition, I'd be really worried about that bit of hand there, but I'm not. So Z will get me back to, or Z will get me back to zooming out to the full frame. Is there anything else I would change at the minute? I don't think so. So let's right click, edit in Photoshop. Yes, we would like to, because these pictures are stored on my NAS on the network storage. That's why I'll be asked extra bits. So I'm gonna grab a marquee and I'm gonna cheat and use all of the AI stuff. Now this has all changed, so let's just use the Adobe one. I want to add, remove, or expand. And let's go generate. And hopefully that will just extend our backdrop just at the bottom for me. I mightn't even use this part of the floor that it's extending. I'll do the same at the top, but I'll give myself as complete a white canvas as I can. Yeah, that looks quite good. What else can we do? Let's get rid of this big softbox. I've kept it as close as I can to Erica because the closer the light is to the subject, the bigger it is, and thus the softer it is. So I'm drawing a little marquee around it. Again, let's go in. So if I was doing this without trying to use all the magic, the AI magic, I would just grab something from over here, bring it over, or I'd clone it. Or if if this is plain enough, I would just paint it in. I would like grab my, oh, hang on, get away from here. Command D to deselect. I would grab I for my eyedropper. I would be taking this, I could, I'm sorry. Go away. I would create a new layer. Let's get rid of retouch. I would, could just start painting this in. And because it's a new layer, I can make mistakes. This is really, really half-assed. I'm not even using the graphics tablet here. I'm taking the colors that match it best. Bring my opacity and flow up. This is very not how I would do it, but so I could start to do that, and then I could filter, blur, Gaussian blur, just try and blend these kind of bits of color in the background together. Yeah, so it looks a little less like I've filtered with it. I could then mask this off. I'm holding Option or Alt and making a mask, inverting the mask, taking my brush again, and then I can start to bring Erica's wee hand back in. Change the color on the mask to bring that background back. Yeah, not perfect, but that's why I would do that. Boop, boop. We're not going to do that. We're going to do it this way, which mightn't work out as well. I'm going to flatten this. Command Shift E flattens that. Let's take our little straight line marquee tool and draw around this bad boy. Generative fill. Yeah, Firefly, whoever we are, just make it happen, please. I don't even know if this is the best engine for doing this, the AI engine for filling in these bits of background, but that's the way I'm doing it. Okay, so we've missed a bit there. Let's go back and see what else. Could we give it a little more room to play with? I'm holding Shift. A lot of things I'll do automatically, and I forget to tell you. I'm sorry. Generative fill. Fill. Edit while preserving details. Let's just try that. Oh no, so let's remove this white thing and replace with can't spell, background. We're learning together here. Adobe at the minute is updating its why is the window way over there? Is updating its AI intelligence so quickly that I can't keep track of it. No, just let that finish and see what it does. Yeah, every time I go to use it, it has updated or added a new thing. So it's good to keep using it and keep messing about, keep playing. We'll see what this spits out now in a second. Do, 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 do. Come on. So if this was an edited video, we'd cut this bit out, but it's not. If you're watching the recording, fast forward. Magic. Be magic. Be magic. Yeah, I can also say that I've for some reason in my blind panic, I've moved the window over, and now you can't see the left-hand side of the window. I shall fix this. Can I fix this when I'm? Can I fix this? Oh yeah, I can. I don't know how I did that. We're back. Sorry. Okay. Let's go Photoshop. Do 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 do. Talk amongst yourselves. I thought this would be quicker. Essentially, once I get rid of this, I'll do the same kind of process for the backdrop on top. Boop, 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 boop. That'll give us a clean enough kind of background to work with. I might use one of my, I think I have an action in here for, oh, it doesn't do anything. I think of an action in here for cleaning up backdrops, paper backdrops and stuff. It'll work much better on this because it's quite clean already. But I can go in and remove some of these. Oh, there we go. Meh, that's not amazing. Let's go back. Generative Fill, Firefly, Adobe. I felt it did better back then. Let's go back to this one, and then we'll fix the bits as we go. This one was a wee bit quicker. Yeah, so I'll go back. I'll do the same process to remove this. I might straighten Erica a little bit, and then we'll go in and do a little bit of skin retouching. And we'll do some dodging and burning. That was much better. So once I do these, I'll Command Shift E and get rid of, flatten that layer. We'll then grab this boyo, generative fill, file, generate. Again, this is different from, I used this the other day and it has changed. Happy days. Thank you, updates for Adobe. This will be the slow part, I promise. After this, I'll get into some actual editing. Happy days. So, not perfect, but it shall do. Actions. Yours, background smoothing. Can I open this out to say back with light? This quite a big action. Might take a while to finish. I'll be fine. Oh, this is automatic, so it doesn't give me any selection that we're doing this. Well, let's see what it produces. Oh no. Yeah, so that's what it's done. It has smoothed out everything. However, in the process, we've lost our shadows. So I'm just going to go into the mask here, select my brush, make sure the brush is on black, which X swaps these two colors, white and black. And black, lift the brush up a touch, and we'll just paint back in what it has done here. So, we can reduce this opacity and keep a little bit of it, which doesn't look too bad. If we were to take that down, let's Command Shift A, flatten that again. Let's zoom in. Use our magic eraser tool. I'm going to swap over to the graphics tablet now, which is so much handier for these types of bits of work. So Command and minus, I'm just going in and fixing these bits and pieces. I'm holding spacebar to grab the hand tool and go down and fix these little blemishes. This is Catchlight Studio, by the way. Hello, Brenton, if you're watching. This has a nice little clean floor. Whenever I had my own studio, my floor was not this clean, possibly because I had lots of dancers in and tap shoes and Irish dance shoes, and they scuffed the life out of it. And I was like, I'll fix it in Photoshop. And every time I got to Photoshop, I was like, I should have just not let them do that. But here we are. Hi, Sasha. Hey, Bradley. Missed the start, editing a wedding along with you. Oh, happy days for you. Sasha, welcome aboard. Thanks for using the chat thing. That's the first time I've seen that work, apart from Kira giving off initially about the sound not working. Here we are. So just be careful with this, especially with this. You can see there's a bit of noise and a bit of grain in this image. Sometimes using these The dog just farted beside me. I don't know if you heard that. Um, and he's still asleep. Um, Sometimes when you're using these bits, they can fill in. They can use their AI cleverness to fill in um, the little blemishes, but they can fill in and disregard the noise and the grain in the photo. So a lot of my wedding images will have a lot of added grain. If I use too much AI or too much um, generative fill and stuff like that, it kind of adds in like a nice smooth texture and doesn't really. It looks, you can kind of see that it's been tampered with. This is quite good, the patch tool. I'll just take this bit here, shuffle that across, Command and D to deselect. Do the same for this wee scar. Move it across. Another one here. So doing this, I'm patching and I'm replacing blemishes with a piece of real estate beside it as such. Now, I'm being very pernickety here. I mightn't always be this pernickety. And sometimes when you just keep looking and keep looking and keep looking, you'll find bits. So let's get into our editing. I'll do some of this. I'll edit. I'll do a little bit of skin editing on this. We will, for this picture, I wouldn't do a whole pile of reshaping of a person, and I rarely would, but I'm going to show you how to do it. Erica doesn't need any of this. She's a very, very talented dancer. She is in fantastic shape. However, I'm going to show you how to, let's say, pinch her waist here a little. I'm going to show you maybe how to fix this little bit of material. And ultimately, we'll go through and do a little dodge and burn to increase the definition around her clavicle and stuff like that. It's a thing dancers like. If this was a shot of her back and her back was all toned, I think we might have a shot there of her back. I'd be going through and dodging and burning. Stephen Black, who is a kind of physique photographer, does a lot of kind of these before and after photo shoots of people who have worked on their body for a long time. Stephen's fantastic at this. I don't know if he runs any workshops. If he did, I'd be all over that because he's very good at his skin retouch. Anyway, at the minute now, I'm just, you might want to take out some of these creases and stuff like this. However, let's not worry too much. So I'm going to over edit this picture of Erica just because she is here in front of me. I wouldn't necessarily go to the extremes that I will go to here if I was finishing this myself, but here we are. So I use a process called frequency separation. This is one that I think I bought from Flern Academy. You can go through and do this process. You can YouTube frequency separation. It involves a lot of create a new layer, add noise, apply layer, and blah, 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 blah. And essentially what it does is it creates two layers. It creates a high and a low frequency layer. It essentially creates a layer for the details and a layer for color. And what you then go through, end up with is you have a layer that you will use to edit these little bits of Erica's skin. So I'll fix the little bits of skin raising here. And then the other layer will be used to adjust skin tone. So if she's any redness in her skin, if I want to reduce these shadows any, I will use that layer for that. So and I'll show this as well on Madison's headshot. So we will go through, this is a 16, this is an 8-bit image for whatever reason. So we'll use the 8-bit process. Time to blur the skin, adjust the radius until you can't see any skin texture. This is really good of this preset or of this action because it kind of talks you through it. I've done this often enough now that I know what I need to do. In a 16-bit image, I'm usually at about 19, but that's too much for this one. So we want to blur this to the point where we can't tell that this is skin or that has any texture. So we were at about 8 there, which looked quite good. 6.4, 8.2. Let's go with that. Okay. You can read that at your leisure, but this has spat out 2 different layers for us. So this one here is our texture layer. It looks all crazy. So this is this and this is this. So I will edit the texture layer now, and what we'll do for that is we'll go in until we're not actually looking at pixels. I can take my clone stamp tool, which is not there. Is it in here? No, is it in here? Oh, there it is. Hi. I think we hold Option for the stamp source, and let's say, for example, here, we'll paint that over there. Let's say we go here, we paint that over there, here, and we'll go there. Etc., etc. I'm not going to do this for all of this, but you'll get the idea. But anything, it's a really, really powerful way of retouching skin. This is how it would be done on magazine covers and stuff. So essentially what I'm going around here is I'm looking for a texture that I want to bring back. And that's so I'm holding Alt or Option, selecting here, and I'm going to paste that texture onto that. Does that make sense? It does take a little bit of finesse, and it does take a little bit of time. You can like just make this brush massive and go to a smoother part of the image and just sweep it across. It will look like poopy poop. It won't look great. But if you know, it's you mightn't want to do this for every flipping image you produce, especially for images, depending on the type of images you're producing. But what, Bradley? But you know, for example, when I'm churning through loads and loads of wedding images, I am not doing this for every wedding image. I am, however, if I'm refining portraits for an album, I will go through and do this. Now we've ended up with something funky up there. That's okay. So you can see, like, we've ended up with nearly something that's nearly too smooth here, in contrast to what's beside it. So you know, you can just kind of go through and there's a lot of little crazy circles on the screen now, isn't there? But we can get, this is before and after, so you can see what we've done by removing this frequency separation layer. This is a non-destructive form of skin retouch, so I'm not affecting, like I can still turn this off. My original image is still sitting there waiting for me. If I don't like any of this, I can turn this back on. So I'm working on just two separate layers, which are kind of hanging out over the top of over the top of what I've done. You know, even in some cases, what you might want to do is you might want to go through and make an absolute Barbie doll out of the skin and the texture and the color, and then just go through and reduce the opacity of this layer and bring a bit of that, dare I say, imperfection back, just so it doesn't look as oh, sorry, just so it doesn't look, what have I done? I'm sorry. Click back on our layer. So these, I would probably choose to leave these on Erica because they're part of her body and who she is, but I'm only for demonstration purposes, I'm showing you how to remove. Like that. Command Z, Z, Z. Yeah. So because this is quite near the edge of the skin, and because the layer that I'm working on is this, it can very easily start to, the blur and the artifacts of what you've created can go back there. So I'm going to get rid of that. Let's try another method. Let's take where is our little patch tool? Let's draw around this boyo and let's bring it down here. Yeah, so we've been able to do that without creating too much craziness. Again, I wouldn't normally do it, but I'm just showing you how powerful this is. So that has been done. Let's zoom back out and have a look at what we've ended up with here. So we've done this with Erica's skin. Now, again, I don't think it really needed it, but we've done it. Let's go on to this layer, which is our skin tone, our skin color layer. And what I would normally do with this is I go to my lasso. I would feather this usually about 15. Let's go here. And what essentially what this is doing is it's I'm gonna make a selection. Let's go 9. And it's not going to be as harsh a selection. So if I make an adjustment, essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to select an area of skin to soften the color and blend the colors back together. And if I select without feathering, it'll be just a harsh line where those edits have been made. Whereas I'll make a softer selection. So let's go around here. And that's the piece of skin we're going to work with. I'm going to go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And you can kind of see there what's happening as I'll take the blur away. And as I bring it up, notice it isn't blurring, whoa, too much. It isn't changing anything with the texture of Erica's skin. It is just blurring her skin tone, the colors of her skin together. So if there's a bit of redness or something like that, that's how that would normally be done. Let's take this back a bit and hit OK. This would be something, if I take too much shadow and too much highlight, it gets messy. Let's just do it anyway, just to see. There's a lot of shadow and a lot of highlight and a lot down there. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And you'll start to see where it can start to, I'm starting to pull those shadows into the highlights and it's just muddy and messy. So we're not going to do that. What you can do is select along this jawline of shadow, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and you can start to blur that together. It's not getting too crazy. Yeah, come on. Instead, we can see what it's like. So that hasn't made a whole pile of difference. Let's go here. Filter, blur. So can you see what that's starting to do? It's starting to take away. It's starting to soften those tones. We might choose to do another bit here. Filter. I'm just going to go Gaussian blur, which is the same preset, the same settings I used before. Command D to get rid of it. So you can see what we've done there. Softened a little bit. Again, there's not a whole pile. Although there's lots of skin here, it's all lit quite nicely. And there's not a whole pile of, Erica has great skin tone here. There's not a whole pile I would do or change about that. If I was happy with this, I could just let this hang, let that work away there. We're being non-destructive. I could then go for, let's create something for dodge and burn. So dodge and burn, I'm going to darken some of this in my curves. I'm going to invert that curve level, and then I'll go to another one, and I will brighten. So don't want to brighten too much. So now I've created 2 layers that I can paint on brightness and darkness. So for example, on this darkness layer, let's select these 2. Drop them into a folder and call that folder. Hello, rename. Dodge and burn. Thank you. So in here, boop. This is, let's call it routing. Just for easiness. I definitely wouldn't be going through labeling these. Darken. But if I'm demonstrating something, I'm going to try and make it easier to understand. So brush tool, hit B for brush tool. We're going to pull the opacity down on this. Let's see, keep the hardness down as well. So where could we go? Let's do what I said about this clavicle. So let's say we're trying to get this collarbone to stand in. We're going to darken. Opacity and flow down plenty here. And we just start to paint in a little bit of darkness here. So I'm painting in shadow around it. I would then go brighten and paint a little bit of highlight onto there. And from there, I can kind of show you. So that's what that has done. Yeah, that's how we would amplify parts of the body we want to amplify or de-amplify, dare I say, parts that we want to remove. It's also one of the techniques for skin softening, so if there's if there are blemishes and things, we can, so let's say we wanted to reduce this shadow line on Erica's neck. We could do the same thing using our the brighten part of our layers here and just start to paint in a little bit of that into here. It really didn't show very well because I had the layer turned off. I was like, oh, this doesn't look very good. And keeping a soft brush means that you can't really see too harshly where I've been doing this, but you can see there what that has done. I'm not suggesting that this is how I would do this, but I want to show you how it works and how it works. But it can also be used to amplify. So that's I'm fix. I might be using this to fix things that I'm not happy with, but I also might go in and lift the opacity of this brush up a bit, and I might paint a little bit of brightness back into these parts. So I might want a little bit more definition, a little bit more contrast between the light and dark. I might want to. We all know how important dancers' feet are to them. So we can bring a little more highlight to that. Let's get rid of that layer again. You can see where I brought that back. A little bit harsh, but not the end of the world. I can just turn that to a dark black brush and paint some of that out again if it's too much. What did it do to her legs there? Yeah, so you can kind of see where I added a little bit of highlight there. Cool. Ultimately, that looks pretty good. So we've just added a little bit of softness to that. There's a little bit of highlight here from when I was trying to remove our light, so we can add these little bits of darkness in, and it can just paint with a big soft brush to remove. Did we make any difference? I don't really know. Oh, because I got the wrong thing selected. Well done, Bradley. Too much. Let's pull that back, reduce the opacity. You can nearly create a little vignette around it if you really wanted to, and just painting darkness in around the edges. Go away. So once you would be happy with this, I would go Command Shift E to flatten everything, and then Command S, and that's me saving that file. Let's go back. Let's go back and do a little bit of more refined skin retouching on a headshot, which is in here. Library. We are into Madison's photo here. So, how pretty is this girl, Madison? Oh no, she's so pretty, we've deleted the photo. There we go. So, this again, I'm really happy with the lighting of. If you look into the eyes of this shot here, you can see what is happening in the lighting. This has been a big kind of clamshell, so I've put a massive big softbox up here. Can you see me? Yes, you can. Massive softbox here facing the client, and then there's I think it's just a reflector underneath. Yeah, you can see the curved reflector in the bottom of her eye, so that's what that is. So let's go in. Let's not. I don't think we need to do a whole pile. We could reduce our highlights a little bit. There, we can always add these highlights back in. A lot of hair to tidy up here. I'll show a little bit of how we would tidy up hair, but ultimately let's edit in Photoshop. So this is a 16-bit image, frequency separation 16-bit, continue, normally around 9 to 17, 18, 19 for here. Let's just type in 19. Okay. Could not complete the, oh, did I write something wrong? I've ruined it. So again, non-destructive process, just delete what we were doing. Let's go back to where our actions are. Continue. 19. Okay. What is wrong with this? Ooh. Let's try Don't know how I've done that. Frequency separation 16-bit. Continue. Something has updated. Okay, let's see if just delete that and delete that. I would probably need to reinstall this action. Let's go for there. So I'm using the 8-bit preset. Don't know if it'll work. I hope it will. But let's use our little cheat brush and go through. So we're editing skin. No, we're not. No, we're not. Where's my clone stamp? Let's try that. Do. There we go. So clone stamp out our little blemishes. Dun, 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 dun. Again, we're just looking for a little part of the skin close by that complements it. A little bit of chappiness around Madison's lips here as well. We can fix some of that. Dun, 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 dun. So you'll see I've fixed a blemish there, but it has left the color behind it. It has left the skin tone. It has left whatever that's part of this process is you're already editing one part at a time. We're removing the blemish. We can use this to take this hair out. So yeah, not a bad go at it. I'm using the wrong button for source. Oops. Could try and do this. Yeah, I think we got away with that. It's a big ask to go through and like individually separate all of these hairs using this process. You might want to choose to do it. Fair play to you. It's one of those instances where on the day it's much easier to go, Madison Pet, would you run a brush through your hair? I'll be your best friend. Okay. Anything else, Madison? I don't think so. You don't need an awful lot of work, do you, Mrs.? Of course you don't. We could go to the extent of hiding these little bits of pores. Again, for magazine, you probably are going to do this, but again, you could see how getting too lost in this, you can make someone just look plastic. Listen, that's a look as well. But what I really don't like is I don't like when people just. I'll show you what I don't like. When people Command J will give me a new layer. I put this. So this is our starting image. This is the work I've done. So this is the starting image. And what some people will do is they will just do this blur, Gaussian blur. I'll bring this blur down a wee bit and they'll go, that's okay. So I'll just blur the skin until I can get rid of those blemishes. Now that gets rid of a lot of it there. That's too much. Let's go here. About 17, okay. Some people won't even go to this extent, and they'll just paint out, where they want to keep the details. So let's paint, wrong color, paint the eye. What? X. Brush. We will, paint the eye. Why can't I? There we go. We paint the eye back in. Yeah, brilliant. Paint this one back in. Excellent. Paint the lips back in. So we're just affecting the skin here. Hair, we don't want the hair looking too blurry, but people will leave the outskirts of it, and it's just like it just looks like it's been really butchered. So that's an approach people will do. And I think I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Let's keep this as or just call it no. And I'll hide that. And we'll finish the process we were doing. So onto the skin layer. We'll do what we were doing before. Lasso tool, we'll take this to 15 because it's a 16-bit image. And we will lasso around these bits here. There's a couple of ways of doing this. I'll try this one first. So essentially what we're doing is I'm selecting this bit of the forehead and kind of deciding I want to bring this all in together, these colors. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And we'll just kind of keep a look at what it's doing. Cool. So that's done quite a good job there. And once you kind of neutralize the skin colors, the skin tone, you kind of start to see other little blemishes and little bits that you didn't want to affect at the time. So let's go like that, get rid of our selection. So we can see what this little bit of work has done to Madison. And now for our magazine edit, we can go back in. We can take our clone stamp tool and we could start to go through all these little bits, like these little bits of dry skin and stuff. So when I would have done little bits of commercial work and bits of magazine work, this is the process all of those images got. And to be honest, I enjoyed the process of just getting really, just getting lost in something. I would spend hours on working on one image. Now I think our standards have shifted quite a bit, and a lot of people prefer, especially on Instagram and stuff, and you'll see even with wedding photos and things as well, a lot of clients prefer a little bit of imperfection. A lot of people prefer some harsher lighting, some blurry images, some grainier photos. It's the trend now, But it's nice to be able to do it. And it certainly looks great in what does it look great in, Bradley? It looks great if you can put that a little bit extra bit of work in for album image, something that's gonna last, forever. Let's go and do a big blanket effect. I wouldn't usually go this far, but let's go take all the color tone and skin tone from round. We don't want to go into, see anywhere there's creases, where skin moves and folds and where there's, her jawline and stuff here. I don't want to go too far into that, but I'll go up around here. Let's run our exact same blur that we did from before. Again, let's see what it was before and what it was after. That's what I've done so far on Madison's skin. A little bit of strap shown there we can get rid of. A little bit of, I don't know if it's tan or it's just a bit of darkness under the arm there. We can go through and do all this. Filter, Gaussian blur, canvas it down a little bit. Another way this can be done is the mixer tool. Where does it live now? Is it in here? No, in here. Art history. No, it's not there. It's mixer brush tool. And what the mixer brush tool does is, imagine this is just wet paint and it smudges it in together. So I can take the wet paint from here and I'm just going to smudge it over the top. Just taking this wet paint and smudging it up over there. Take our wet paint, smudge it down there a little. Again, we can see what that has done. That's just by smudging our paint. Onto lips. Wow. Oh no, Z, that's why. So we're back on our skin layer. Sorry if I'm shouting. getting very excited. Let's go to our patch tool. So these little bits of here, we can take this across. Bam, 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 bam. So what can make lips look kind of chapped like this is so there's a nice shine on her lip here, but it's interrupted by these little bits of redness. So I'm just going to take these little bits of redness out. And then we'll use the dodge and burn technique that we used on Erica to bring bring that lip back in and bring a little bit more uniformity to it. Yeah, that's not too bad there. Cool. Lips before, lips after. So let's get dodge and burning. Curves. Invert the mask. Adjustment. Curves. Bring our curve up. Invert the mask. So if I grab my brush tool, we now have brighten enabled. And so we can follow. We'll turn our, we'll get the normal brush back, please, Bradley. We can bring our softness and opacity and stuff down here because we want to just make small edits to what we're doing here. So I'm just painting. My brush is massive. I knew something was wrong there. Let's go back. So smaller brush. Take a bit of the softness off it. There. So just painting a little bit of brightness back in there. Let's paint a little back in here. I can take the darkness also and go in here. So this can look too harsh. If essentially by adding shadow and adding highlight, I can plump on her lips and it can look too harsh. So I'm going to take a little bit of this darkness and calm things down around here. Cool. I like what we've done there. Taking this really far and going for that really kind of plasticky, kind of almost comic style look, which I actually quite like. So this is really good. This dodge and burn technique is really good. One of the places I'll apply this is I'll give above the eyes a little go. We can go into here and brighten these little bits in here. Basically anywhere where there is a little bit of highlight, if we add a little more, it can add to that, so we can go up here, accentuate all these bits. Let's brighten that whole eye. Anywhere there's highlights, so see these, I can add bits of highlight and brightness along her hair. Again, just being quite quick with this and just boop, 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 boom. This little bit of shoulder. We can go in for there. See this little water line along her eye? See that little bit of white, that little white line? You can go in and take a white brush and draw that in pure white. It really, really pops the eye, but I'm just adding a little bit of help to it. Cool. Again, nothing but lighting and a little bit of dodge and burning on her eyes. And that's what we've got. We would what? Oh, we talked about, oh yeah, let's go in a little bit of darkness here then. And, so I can add a little bit of shadow to here. I'm just checking that it's actually doing it. And what I'm doing here is just helping exaggerate that jawline. I'm adding shadow to where it already exists. Oh, because I've got such a small brush, that's why, Bradley. Cool. So bringing our jawline out, we can open here. Darken her brows a little. A little bit of muscularity showing through here. These are little bits that you can use these techniques to, kind of bring, paint a little bit of brightness, kind of like how someone might use bronzer, to highlight and bring cheeks and stuff out. That's kind of not bronzer. Is it bronzer? No. What do you call it? The shiny stuff. Highlight. I suppose it is highlight. Anyway, so let's get rid of all the edits we've done. This is our big no edit. This is the kind of just blur everything and hope it works kind of version. And this is our frequency separation and what it has done to the final image. And again, we can take this and reduce the opacity. If we like the effect, we just don't want all of it. There's half of the effect on and off. That's the full effect. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's flatten all of this. Can I flatten it, please? Get rid of this no edit. Boop. Command and Shift E. Bye-bye. Save. Thanks, Madison. Let's get into our couple of wedding images. So I think these have, I don't know if they have anything on them at the minute. As you can see, they're a little bit blown out. These obviously, portrait. So I probably was messed about with camera profiles here in this. I can add my Brad Wed. This is my kind of wedding coloring to it. Let's actually have a look at what we have to work with. This will be a good demonstration because Grace is in good light and Connor is kind of in shadow. So let's go into that. Let's add our profile, which is D for develop in Lightroom. Brad Wed. Let's bring our exposure up. Let's bring our shadows up a touch. When I'm doing anything of high detail, I'll take my grain out. So this is just a photo taken and a filter, a profile applied to it. Nothing else done other than that. Let's do some crude photoshopping and take this chair out, take this piece of wall edge out. We can even extend this and let her dress flow a little bit more. It's annoying that this here is a bit slanted. If this was a plain wall, I could fix that quite easy. I don't know if I have the power. But let's hit R and just see how everything sits. Can we straighten? Sometimes with things like this, unless you're facing perfectly straight to it, that's we can also go into guided straightening. We could take this, run this across there, run this across there, and ultimately this will straighten things based on the straight lines that I feel are in the picture already. So I could use the edge of this frame to straighten it as well. Use this one. Obviously, if the picture frames aren't straight, we in trouble. But that's not a bad go. Let's take that. Cool. Let's go in Lightroom. So let's take the exposure brush in Lightroom. And let's paint a little bit more. What were my settings? 1.8. So 1.8 is kind of risky because I might lose focus on one of these two a little bit. But hopefully I was starting far enough away to get them both in. So let's paint some exposure back in. Am I doing it right? I don't normally do Can't remember. Have I? Nope. Develop. After shoot, so something has happened here already. And after shoot, oh, after shoot has done some work. Let's get rid of that. Bye. I don't actually use after shoot anymore. So brush, and we shall brush in a mask. Nothing's working for me today. Let's just get painting. Do. So we need to add a little bit of more exposure to all of this. We can't just go give him some on the face and that'll do. And if we go too far, for example, onto her hair, which is already kind of done, well, let's actually go too far on everything. Let's go too far. Let's go too far. We could hold Option and take this little brush and cut that back. You get me. So let's take that, lift the exposure up a little. No bad. Cool. This flipping light kilters the whole thing off, doesn't it? I wonder if I just if we altered this image just to do what the light wanted. It's actually, this one's not too bad. This boy's hanging over. Let's have a mess, will we? Let's go into Photoshop and see if we can fix that. Edit in Adobe Photoshop. Hi again, Photoshop. Go away, actions. Let's see up here. What can we do with this? Let's take this without any feather. Where's the main culprit? Let's say it's this boy. Let's take him. Command and J to make a new layer out of him. Let's filter. No, is that wrong? Yeah, we've made a new layer. So, so select, reselect. Reselect? Not there. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just reselect this. What I'm going to do is just delete this piece of lamp. I don't want you all thinking that I go to this extent for every single portrait, but it's fun to do. Let's just see what Firefly does for me. That was done quite well. Let's bring this down and merge these two. Merge layers. Wonder, could we cheat and sometimes just a simple delete does quite a good job. Doesn't overthink it. Delete. Content aware. Hey. So we could then bring back the little bit of lamp that we cut out. Command T for transform. No? Oh, because we're on the wrong layer, Bradley. Now, there's a little bit of crappiness around there, but that can be fixed with a bit of layer masking, I believe. Brush. We need black. What are we doing? Brush, please. B. 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 Why do you not want to stay in brush? What have I done? There we go. Opacity up, flow up. Nope. Want to paint on the mask, please? Yeah. So, in fact, all the little bits that don't tie in, we can just kind of brush out some of the wallpaper artifacts, especially kind of where they're blended over. We could soften that a little bit so the transition isn't as harsh. Cool. So again, it's kind of useful just to know how to do these things. Another way this could be done is we can get rid of that. We could do a wee bit of mirroring. So let's go right in the middle of that. Let's go down there. That shows you how off that is. Let's take that. Command J, image, edit, transform. Excuse me, flip horizontal. But because this yoke isn't exactly straight, it's going to be more difficult. Sometimes I'll reduce the opacity so I can see what's under the layer and try and line things up a little better. Not too bad. Bring our opacity back up. Don't know why I'm whispering. Now that's clearly a mirror, but as in it's clearly a mirrored image. But these look quite good. And then if we want to get rid, we can do the same thing as we did before. Create a mask. Bradley, B. No. Let's make all the same mistakes again. Paint on the mask layer. Sometimes it's easier to paint too far with these things and then just recover it with the other color. So that's been too far. Let's go back in. Again, harsh edges. If your brush is too harsh, sometimes you can't hide these things. So you mightn't choose to do this on every image. It might suit every image, but it's nice to have the skills to do it when you can or when you need to. And sometimes I think it's kind of nice to like do these little bits and go the extra mile on some of these images and just hand it over to the client and they have no idea. And you're like, that nearly killed me doing that piece of work. And you'll never know, nor will you care, nor appreciate it. So there's a couple of fixes to that lamp. That was one, and that was the other. Decide in class, discuss amongst yourselves which you prefer, but it's done. Colored. Oh, we can. I suppose right. So let's do this. Let's keep that lamp. Get rid of you. Command Shift E. Let's go here. Let's go with our crop and let's extend this whole frame out and see what Photoshop will give us if we just expand the frame. So it'll give us a little bit more room because her dress ends. We decided on the day not to photograph. I think there's a wall there, so we couldn't get it. What we can do is, Photoshop has done that. Okay, let's go with that. Let's flatten that. And let's take a lot of this crap out. I'm not gonna lie, see that circle around my mouse? I'm sure it's really handy for showing you what I'm actually doing, but it's a pain in the ass. Let's do that up here. Let's go around here. Whoop. Generative fill. Get rid of it, please. And then what we might do is paint a little bit more. Connor's getting lit nicely by that little lamp. I think that I add light to this. I can't remember. Don't like that. That's not too bad. A bit muddy down here. Yeah, let's go with that. Because what we'll do is we'll just recrop this again. So let's flatten that image, go into our crop, and come in here. So it's just giving us a much tidier frame on the left-hand side here. Still don't like that. What's good for architecture, buildings, if you're nice picture outside the church and you don't like the way it's sitting and it needs straightened, this is a really good way for fixing that. Filter, camera raw, where are you? Camera raw filter. This kind of does a little bit what, can you tell I've just updated this? Get started. This does a little bit of what Lightroom was doing. However, I think it's more powerful. It is in here and we grab these lines and it's the same kind of thing. We bring those lines across. We tell it what we think is straight and then Adobe will go, okay, I'll fix that. Now these picture frames are a bit wonky, so we can draw on here, and it will straighten everything. Now it will really strictly universally straighten everything, but I think it's a good job. So that brings our straight lines back into this, and we can then go in if we think this one's. Let's say we thought this line is doing us dirty. We can redraw it on the bottom skirting board. Let's go with here, and that's that done. Yeah. Okay. Cool. We can see that's what the before and after looks like on this bit of straightness. Yeah, so we might want to paint a little bit of warmth back into Grace here. So adjustments might be better ways of doing this. I'm going to go color balance. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red. Let's see what we're adding there. It might be too much, but what we'll do is we'll paint it in, and if it's too much, we'll reduce the opacity of the layer or paint it out. So let's inverse this mask. So turning this mask black gets rid of everything, and we can just use white on our brush. You can see here to paint it back in. We are going to reduce everything that we're doing here. By the way, if you've hopped on, just do please say hello. I know there's only two of us, but that's okay. So we're going to go in here, and I'm going to paint this little bit of warmth back into Grace. So yeah, let's go there. You mightn't feel like it's doing a whole pile, and maybe it isn't. Every time I take a stroke with the brush, like apply the brush to paper. So doot, doot, doot. Every time I touch down and make a stroke, that's applying another layer of paint or effect. Whereas if I just hold the brush down and scrub, 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 it's not doing a whole pile. It's still. All these things I say make total sense in my head, but. Oh, this was a very tiny brush again. See, this circles. I keep seeing that big circle and think I'm making. I probably should just get rid of that circle bit. Anyway, don't know why I'm whispering. It's our secret. So let's see what that has done. Ah! Not a whole pile, you might say, Bradley. Color balance. Let's bring our opacity back up. Painting on this again here. And then we might choose to bring so you can see the red coming in there. I don't want too much red, a little more. Yeah, so you can see where it's taken a little bit of that bluishness. Window light out of the picture. It's actually a really nice picture. It's nice, just nice, nice tone to it. But there's a lot of yellow light happening in the room, and then there's a lot of blue light coming in from outdoors. So that's what it has done to Grace. Now it has added a little bit too much to her face. I'm going to take my brush and go back to black and take some of that away, because in my opinion it's a little too much. Take some of that back. Cool. That's what we've done. I would be happy with that picture. Shift A, save. Let's go back in. So we can now see our before and after. So removed some of the distractions, straightened the images up a bit. Cool. What else could we work on? This is quite harsh. Let's fix this. So we can either adjust. Oh, so we need my preset on. So let's go here. We can adjust this to a point where either he's right or the room's right. We could go to here and just let the room be red. let's go to there. I quite like this because I like the idea it was kind of horns poking out of his head, and he couldn't have been a nicer fella. So it's ironic, really. We've Aftershock. Go away! I'm sick of your edits. We can select our subject, and we can. Oh, I'm much better at this in Photoshop. I'm going to do it in Photoshop because I don't know what I'm doing here. Let's go edit in Photoshop. And Photoshop can do something similar, whereas I can just go, I would like to select this person, please. See, it'll even let me select his beard, but I just want to go, can I get him? And the rest of him, please. And this bit here. And here. Why you don't want to do that? Okay. I'm going to add these bits to it. And then just to be sure, oh, no, missed a bit here. Just to be sure, I'm going to go select, modify, expand my selection so that I'm not cutting off bits of his face. Let's expand it by 5 pixels. Okay. So you can see, in some places I'll be a little bit outside of him, but I'm cool with that. We could do this and tidy this a little bit up. That's plus. I didn't mean to do that. Oopsie. I went to go minus it a little bit, minus on my selection tool now. So we'll get rid of that. And we'll feather that selection. So modify, feather, 3 pixels. So it just softens the area of the selection. And what we'll do is we will, no, I was wrong. Is it Command Shift I? It inverts the selection. So now I've selected the background instead of Connor. And let's go into adjustments, color balance. And now I'm immediately affecting the bit I had selected there. So now I can cool this down. Please. Why you don't want to work? Let's use the mouse. I can adjust all of these bits here and leave Connor alone. Now, ultimately, you might go in and go, I kind of liked it the way it was. And that's also fine. Like we can lean into that redness and just go full on Gatekeeper of Hell, which isn't the worst thing either. Yeah. We can do our little bits of dodging and burning. If we want to accentuate that, let's go adjustments, curves, darken, invert, adjustments, curves, brighten, invert. Brush, yeah, happy with that. So what you would be doing here is just adding a little bit of contrast and brightness to the little bits that you wanted and darkening others. Again, it's just to add a little bit of that something extra. So there's a little bit of shine on his lapel here. So let's go for that. If you really wanted to, you can add a little bit of bling to this watch, a little bit to his flower. Let's pop that pocket a little bit, pop the white of this here. Am I even, yeah. Cool. If I wanted a little bit more refinement, let's go curves and let's make a really big, bright, scary one here. And this brush then becomes quite a harsh definition brush. So what I might use this for is, see, for adding these little bits of, nearly like little bits of shine to them. So any parts where there's little bits of highlight here, I can add to around here, up here, and pull that little bit of brightness out in his eyes. And I can go in and add highlight here if I wanted to. So those little bits of highlights just add a little bit extra sharpness to the face. I don't know about this little bit on the nose. Might get rid of that, but ultimately that's what that does. We can flatten this. Let's go right in, and we could take those couple of little blemishes away for him. Doot, 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 doot. Again, this isn't, we haven't gone into the great detail of frequency separation here, but you get the idea. Deselect. Cool, that's that. Let's hit save on this bad boy. What color balance did I think it's too much. Let's get rid of that. Go away. Go away. I know. Leave. Go away. Invalid number. Why not? Trash. Thank you. Save. Back into Lightroom and see what our before and after looks like on that. So not a whole pile of difference in the color. Just we've added a little bit of detail, and I'm pointing. You can't see me. We've added a little bit of detail and a little bit more zhuzh to it. Does that make sense? Is zhuzh a word? Yeah. Anyway, listen, those are a couple of edits. I'll be back on again at 7:30 to do a little bit more in depth, and maybe edit a couple more of them. If you're about and you want to see some of that, you're very welcome to come along. If not, well then screw you. No, not screw you. I'm sure you're very busy. Thanks very much for jumping in. Anyone who did, let's leave it at that. And I'm going to try and figure out how to stop this stream.